was the fit here for you in terms of why?
I mean, obviously playing against the Rangers for a really long time in Anaheim. I always envied kind of like what they had going on the other side. When I was in Anaheim, they were always winning and they always had good teams. And this offseason, it seems like that's the same thing that's going on. They brought in a lot of guys and kind of turned the team around as far as cosmetically. So I'm excited to be a part of it. I know a lot of guys in this locker room already from playing with them either in Boston last year or even Cole Calhoun in Anaheim for a lot of years, and a lot of the staff too. I've known playing with them and throughout the years. So it just seemed like a good fit. I'm from Oklahoma. My parents and family are still in Oklahoma, so this will give them a chance to see the grandkids and stuff a lot more, and that's very important. But yeah, there was a weird feeling the whole time I was in Anaheim that there was a possibility that I would play here at some point in my career. So I'm just glad that it came around.
Role-wise, though, you changed roles as last season went on, and you had a lot of success in that role. Did you find that you liked relieving more than you thought you would?
Yeah, I mean, when I first got to the league, I was going back and forth doing the relieving and starting thing in Anaheim, and I had some success there as well. I had some older veterans in the bullpen at the time. They were kind of helping me along, and I've always been a starter, and so my goal was to always be a starter. And, I did that for a number of years, and as you get older, things change. So I'm happy to still be playing baseball, and hopefully I can still do it at a high level. Hopefully the bullpen opens up a new chapter for me. And hopefully I can help some of these younger guys along the way as well. I just want to be, a good teammate, have a lot of fun, and win ball games.
The Rangers' need was obviously longer middle relief, which is what you kind of succeeded at last year. Did you have any opportunities to be a starter when you're going through the free agency process that maybe you looked at?
Yeah, I had offers to be a starter also with some other teams. At the end of the day, I wanted to be somewhere that I was going to be comfortable. Like I said, my family's in Oklahoma, and I have a lot of college teammates and a lot of friends that live in the Dallas area. There was really no negative to come here. The other offers, I felt like I was going to have to do some things, I guess inconveniently, some Florida spring trainings, moving the family to, unfamiliar places. But this just kind of made sense, and my family obviously were really behind it the whole time, so they had an influence in this as well. So,
what did you find worked better for you in the relief role last year than maybe you would expect?
I think being a reliever versus being a starter, being a starter, you set the tone from the beginning. You have to establish inside, and you're facing a lineup 2-3 times through the order, so it's a little bit more difficult for sure. What I liked about relieving was the fact that I could come in and just kind of attack. I didn't have to figure guys out as much as I did when you're starting. So I think that helped me, with shorter bursts of just kind of coming in and trying to close the door. Mentally, I think changed a lot for me. So I'm just going to try and keep building on that and hopefully, become a solid reliever.
And so when you went into free agency this offseason, did you go in with the idea that, I think this is probably a better chapter for me going forward, or a better route for me going forward?
I don't think any of us really knew what the offseason was going to be like free agency-wise. So I was open to all offers, I guess.
Sure.
I think I went into free agency thinking I still wanted to start, but then as free agency went on, I think I became more open to just relieving all the time. I think it's going to be good for me, so I'm happy with it. I'm ready for the challenge. It's not something I haven't done before, so really just want to get better at it.
One of the things that sometimes you hear guys talk about when they go back and forth from starting to relieving is the difference in routine. Right? When you're a starter, it's my day, I get a routine.
Mm-hmm.
Relieving, you kind of have to be more like,
Definitely. I think in that aspect too, and you could ask my wife this, but the fact that I have to wake up every morning and know that I possibly could pitch today, it doesn't affect me as much as waking up in the morning and knowing that I have to pitch that day and start and potentially put the team on my back and like all the things that come with starting. I think that when the phone rings and you all of a sudden have to go into that mode, I think that helped me a lot moving forward. I'm the type of dude that doesn't really like to get to the field and sit around for 3 hours before I start. I don't think any starter likes doing that. Or you're sitting in your hotel room on the road just kind of watching Netflix, waiting for time to kind of tick by. That's what I hated about starting. What I like about relieving is the fact that you just have to turn it on when the phone rings. So I think internally, I think this is going to be better for me moving forward.
You can actually talk to teammates and everybody every day. And
So, how you feeling at the plate?
I feel good. I was able to get some good pitches to hit today and able to get some good swings on it. I had a pretty good plan going to the plate, so I feel like I'm in a good spot right now.
Have you changed anything at the plate since getting in camp? Working with Donnie and Tim and all that.
Yeah, I'm kind of going back to my old way I used to hit. Obviously, me getting hit in the face, like I kind of got off the plate the last 2 years. And I'm not wearing a C-flap anymore. I feel like that was a big thing for me over the last 2 years. I kind of got away from what I was good at. And when I'm going good, I'm like on top of the plate, like eliminating all pitches to be able to do pull side damage. And just this year, like going into the offseason, I told myself I wanted to, if I get hit again, then that's just, it's not meant. So I just told myself that I was going to be able to go back to that, stand on top of the plate, and kind of go back to that approach that I've been hitting with my whole life. Because like I said, the last 2 years I've been like so like hesitant to like get off the plate and stuff. Because like I wouldn't say like timid or scared, but I mean, in a way, I was kind of like, especially after I got hit in the arm too. I set off the plate a little bit more, but this year I'm going right back to on top of the plate how I used to do it.
Is not using the C-flap, is that more like a symbolic thing to kind of?
Yeah, it's because when I see the C-flap there, obviously it kind of like puts that in my head, like why, got hit in the face, got hit in the arm. So I'm not using the C-flap no more, not even against lefties, just because I kind of. It lets me just free up a little bit more. So I'm doing that just because only the last 2 years were the first 2 times I hit with the C-flap. And every time I hit with the C-flap, it would just always put it in the back of my head, like, why am I, why I'm wearing it. So I'm just going back to, like, just being free out there and just being able to, like, use my hands.
So, when you talk about going back to what you used to do, you're like talking 2019.
Yes.
You're not going back to A-ball or something.
No, I mean, how I hit like in 2019, was like how I hit like coming up and stuff. I used to always stand on top of the plate and kind of just eliminate some pitches. So, but like I said, I got away from that the last 2 years. So, just especially talking with Donnie and Tim too, because I had Tim coming up to the Dodgers, so he was kind of familiar with that, and he's happy. Like he was telling me like that's a good idea, and Donnie we have a pretty good plan right now going into the plate because usually I just don't think when I go up there and hit, I just go up there and hit. But having him reiterate to me you have to stay in your lane, be stubborn in your lane, kind of gives me that refocus when I get into the box. So just doing that and being able to kind of stay on those pitches is what I'm going to continue to do.
How are you feeling about your potential role on the team this year? Some left field, probably a lot of DH.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that?
I'm all for it. I mean, it is what it is. Whatever the team needs, really. I don't really have a preference either way. I just if we can get a team full of 26 or 28 in the beginning of everyone doing their role and playing their role the best that they can be, I feel like we have a pretty good team, and we can, like I said, if everyone focuses on that one thing that they're really good at and push the ship the right way, then I feel like the team's going to click. So, I'll definitely just do that.
So do you, you're at least one of them. I think a couple of hits were off the lefties. Mm-hmm. So I mean that's a big thing for you too, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, that's huge.
Today was a step in the right direction.
Yes, 100%. Just because over obviously the last 2 years I was timid against lefties, but today was the first big test. Especially with the Hinchage, the reliever, I mean, he was throwing pretty hard, 96, 97. So for me to be able to square that ball up the center field definitely is a step in the right direction.
know Seeger when you guys were in both the Dodgers?
I played with Corey a little bit, so I've known Seeks ever since 2016. So
Okay.
yeah.
And I know you and Semyon are pretty tight as well.
Yeah. Me and Marcus, we grew up like 20 minutes from each other. So I never played with Marcus, but obviously played against him when he was in Oakland. But even before that, like we would always like hit and stuff. So I've had a connection with him for a while.
How'd you guys meet?
He went to Cal, so I mean, obviously, like as a Bay Area kid, you look at the like next big thing like coming up, and everyone's like, "Oh, you need to go watch Marcus play at Cal." So I used to always go watch him play at Cal, growing up through high school and stuff. So I used to always try to go out there and kind of be like him in a way because I played shortstop in high school, not anymore, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah, you're a lot younger, so you guys
Yeah.
like, played against.
Yeah, no, we never played against each other. I think he's like 4 or 5 years older than me. Yeah, but I'm not sure. But yeah, no, for sure. I used to always look up to him when I was a little kid.
How was that been having those two guys? I mean, they came over, then there was a whole lockout. Like, were you in touch with those guys during the lockout, or like?
Yeah, I was working out with Marcus actually. Yeah, we were working out in the Bay Area together before he bought his house in Texas. So I think he went to Texas at some point in January to get his sons enrolled in school out there. Yeah, so I was working out with him all the way up until he left for that. And then he was actually flying back to Oakland the day they called the lockout off. So yeah, so he had to go from Oakland to Arizona.
Have you learned? I mean, you got to work an off season of working out with a guy. Like, what have you learned from him?
Man, you can learn so much from Marcus. I mean, he's so like unique in a good way. Like he's different. You can just the way that he goes about his work. He's so like routine oriented. It's actually amazing to be able to see the routine that he does every single day and to see everything pay off for him. I mean, it's unbelievable. You can see why he hit 45 home runs last year and why he has all this success over the last 3 years. I mean, really throughout his career. I mean, he put in so much work to be able to get to where he is. He didn't just come onto the scene as a superstar. He kind of like built up to that. So to see all the work that he did pay off is pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Overall, everything felt good. Pitches were good. Command was good. Was fair to me. But yeah, felt really good. Second inning got a lot better. Started getting under my feet a little bit.
Did you go to the bullpen and throw some extra pitches?
Yeah,
How many?
10 extra.
Do you know how many you threw in the game?
Close to, I'd probably say about 35 maybe.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
you threw another 10 in the bullpen?
Mm-hmm. No. Okay, so in the game, I threw probably a little over 20.
Okay.
And then in the bullpen,
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
extra 10.
What? When the season starts in 3 weeks, basically less than three weeks. How built up do you think you can be, as far as innings you can throw your first start?
Even like today, I felt like I could have went out there and threw one more. But I mean, by opening day, I feel like I could give them 5. I feel like I do a pretty good job of taking care of my body, and then also from a conditioning aspect as well. But yeah, I could definitely try to give them 5 for sure.
How do you feel, I guess, going into this season, knowing you are going to be a starter, as opposed to last season when you started in the bullpen and kind of, went back and forth a couple of times?
I think the mentality's never changed. It's still mentally trying to still compete for a job, even though they may have told y'all guys that. But like mentally, I'm still trying to compete. It's hard for me to kind of get out of that mindset because I just feel like I got a lot to give, talent-wise as well, and I'm trying to just get the most out of my ability. But yeah, I mean, just whatever they need though.
With limited number of starts in spring training, I just wonder if a guy can almost like trick himself into thinking, I got to jam a bunch of stuff into these starts, and if you had to fight that.
No, not really, because my mentality, even with if I throw 3, 4 starts before. It's not trying to do too much because honestly, if you really think about it, even in March and April, we're still trying to work on some things and still trying to iron some stuff out. So I think with me, I've never been a guy to try to get too far ahead of myself and more so just trying to throw things down the middle and just, figuring out in the games.
Yeah. How was your off season?
It was fun. It was fun. I stayed a little bit more busier than other people, but I enjoyed it though. Doing the high school tours, working out with high school kids, and then also talking to all the guys that we worked out with. And then, if it was going to prolong, I was definitely thinking about getting back into rodeo as well. So that was definitely a strong consideration. So we were getting close.
Did you do that rodeo camp? Didn't you say you started a baseball/rodeo camp?
Yeah. So the sad thing about it was just like, it was the numbers had spiked in Texas. And so I kind of had told the guys we're going to move it. But then it ended up being like the high of 42 that day. So I was like, I don't even know if I would have stood outside for that. I would have probably been like, we ain't gonna have this. So the plan now is to try to have it a little earlier and then go from there. So no more like January, because I think in Texas, like, it's still warm and like late October, November. So I think that's when we're going to try to do it.
Can you tell me what were the characteristics of Richard's, now that that's official, the characteristics of Richard's stuff that you guys really liked as a reliever? What played up for you?
Everything. I mean, obviously we know this guy. He's been around a while. He's got 9-something years in the big leagues. His stuff's always been elite. Fastball, obviously the high velo. Velo's not, 100 like it used to be, I guess. But the movement, he's got like a natural cutter. I know I faced him in my last year playing. He was coming up as a young buck, and he was throwing 99-mile-an-hour sinkers and cutters and sliders. Been, elite for a long time. So, he still has it. You still see it. It's still there. So, just about with him, he's open to kind of trying to maximize that. Just for an older guy to be really open, the stuff is still there, and he wants to know how to use it best. And I think that kind of stood out to me the other day in my conversation with him and conversations he's had with our pitching coach already. So it's good to have. It's a power arm, really tough on righties, obviously, and it's a good addition. And he can throw multiple innings, be a good role for us.
What is multiple innings for you?
I mean,
Is that 1+ or is it 2+?
I mean, he can get 6-7 outs. He's been a starter in his career. He's kind of gone back and forth. We're not going to mess around with the starter. He's comfortable with that. He just wants to be a reliever. But I mean, we could build him up to where he could go 2+ innings if we needed it. Probably more likely 1+ and less than 2. But those days where he's on and it's efficient, you can get 6 or 7 outs.
I know middle relief was really like a need for you guys, but did you and him, I guess, both entertain the idea of putting him in the rotation?
No, not at all. It never even came up. He wanted to do one or the other, and with us, we made it clear that the bullpen was where we saw the fit, and he was all in.
The irony is, I tried to put together a rotation because they wanted roster protection.
Of course.
First 4 seemed pretty easy. Fifth one, you got about 4 guys that could possibly squeeze their way in. Is there, this is probably not a question you can answer right now, but is there somebody that's sort of in the lead there? Or?
I wouldn't say anybody in the lead. I don't want to put that out there, but I've been impressed. Obviously, like you said, there's 4 that are pretty solidified. They still got to prove it, though. I mean, listen, there's no guarantees there, especially with Dane and Taylor. They're young starters. They still have to go out and prove it. We felt really confident with them, but at the same time, they got to go out. Bless you. They got to go out and prove that. As far as the 5th goes, though, it is an open competition, and it's pretty. I wouldn't say if I do have an idea who's leading, it's not by much. And listen, there's not much to go off of. Right. I mean, we haven't really seen them. We haven't been communicating with them, but what we do see in their bullpens, haven't seen any of them pitch in a game, just in live BPs. But everybody put the work in. Everybody that's competing for that spot, as we expected. You're coming in to compete for a 5th, a starting rotation. Like I expected them to be in good shape. Not only arm, but mentality-wise, all the things we asked them to work on, they've all showed up in pretty good form.
Would it be putting you on the spot to sort of give me a list of candidates that are up for that?
Some guys are in unique roles. I mean, there's some guys, probably Colby Allard stands out, as a guy who could be that, but could also fill a role in the bullpen. Kohei, could be that, but he could also fill a role as a multi-inning reliever. So, obviously Otto, Alexi, Howard, those guys, stand out there. They all came in ready. And some of those guys, I don't think we would put them in a bullpen role. Right. Because we believe in them and we want them to develop, and we want them to be starters. Unless we feel like it's in their best interest that we can actually, monitor their innings. And but at the same time, man, like, when you're, what we hope to be a winning environment, we don't have the luxury of planning out our staff days like we did last year. We don't want to do that. We need to be on go. Everybody that's available, you're available. Like, we're trying to win a Major League Baseball game. So, with Garrett Richards, it's a little easier when he knows he's in a bullpen role. If we put, Glenn Otto in a bullpen role, like, I don't know if that's fair. He could fill that role, but I don't know. We're going to have some deep discussions about that. If that's good for his development, or AJ Alexi or Howard, if that's in their best interest.
Gotcha. Like Garrett comes in here today, right? And he's ready to work out. But you got 16 more games. When's he going to throw? I mean, when's he going to pitch? Even though it's reliever, is he going to have enough opportunity to get ready for opening day?
Yeah, no, he'll be ready. It's different for a reliever. Listen, we're not going to ask him to go 3 innings opening day.
Right.
Or even in the first week, probably. I mean, he's only going to be a 1+ guy at the beginning of the year at best. And that's where I think the rotation, everybody that kind of follows, and some of these guys that maybe transition from what we see as like maybe a starting role, and if they don't get that role, then we put them in the bullpen. They'll be built up. Those guys will be built up as as relievers that can go 2+ or 1+ or whatever it is. But Garrett, I'm not in any hurry to kind of rush the fact he'll be ready to throw an inning opening day.
But I still come back to, like, with the starters, like with Taylor and Dane, you say they still got to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
But my argument would still be nobody's going to prove anything in 2 weeks of starts.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just the fact that they're breathing at the end of camp is them proving it. You know what I mean? Like,
I think the proof is going to be carried into the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they have to go about they've done everything that we expected. Both of those guys, and Dane didn't have a great outing, but, like, he's doing everything that we asked. So if that's what I mean by, like, proving it, and also proving it, just because you're the opening, you're on the opening day roster and you're the 3 or 4 starter, whatever you are, you still have to go out and prove it. So if he goes out and can't execute and just getting ripped all over the place, or just walking guys, or it's an easy, like, hey, we're going to send you down, we're going to bring up the next guy that's ready. It's not going to be a long runway like, hey, we're going to let this guy struggle for 2 months before we send him out. Like, no, we have expectations. They have to hold up their end of the bargain. It's like, hey, man, like, you're a young starter, but you got to be ready to compete at this level, at a high level. And I'm not asking to be Cy Young, but at the same time, like, they have to build from what they went through last year, execute pitches, go after guys, with the mentality that we're looking for. And if we don't see that, it's going to be a conversation and maybe a chance where we actually replace them. You never know.
For me, when you talk about Taylor and Dane, and then when you talk about the 5th guy, it's different things, right? I mean, those guys are in a little bit different situation. They get that runway that probably carries into a few starts in the regular season. You've got to pick. You just have to pick a 5th guy.
I hope the 5th. Listen, if we have 4 guys that are well deserving, we're in good shape. Whoever we pick, we're going to be in good shape, and then we're going to have really good depth on top of that. And we believe in those guys. We believe in, obviously, there's another group coming from behind them that's pushing them. So that it's like you're starting to get this compression at the top, and it's like that's what you want. That's what good teams have. That's what they have. They have good competition. They push each other. There's no like, oh, okay, I'm entitled to this. I deserve this because I'm top priority. No, you got to earn your way here, and it's like it's a fight to get into that rotation, and you have to be really good to get on it. So we have always wanted that. That's what everybody wants in their organization. So it's a good thing for those young guys.
Speaking of compression, you're not going to be allowed to have like a 16-man bullpen either. So going through those names, there's some candidates.
Yeah.
Guys that spent time in the big leagues last year, guys that, I mean, with Richard showing up, there's kind of a scarcity of room there.
Spots, yeah. Yeah, it's a good competition in the bullpen, honestly. And if you're a 1-inning guy, it's even more compressed. Because like I don't know what we do. If we have 4 or 5 guys that are only 1-inning guys, they may be really good, But at the end of camp, we're going to have to decide, all right, who's pitching the best right now, who's executing the best right now, who has options, what's our best opportunity to move this team forward to start opening day with depth in case one of those guys goes down. It's not going to be fun conversations, but it's conversations I'm actually like excited to have because we have quality depth. So when I have to send a really good pitcher out, hopefully I don't lose them. In the case you're talking about, some of these guys are older, veteran guys. They may have outs. We may lose a few of these guys, but at the same time, like if they do stay with us, or let's say we put that guy on our roster and we have a young guy as depth, we're always going to need pitching.
Right.
I mean, always going to need pitching. Guys get hurt, guys go down, guys underperform. We have to be able to have quality guys to come up and not have to, guys that are ready to help contribute. So it is a little bit of a crunch, in the bullpen because there's not a whole lot of spots.
Is Matt Moore still a starter?
I think we're going to build him up as one.
Okay.
And then, he's another guy that could transition into, a one-time through or, two-inning type guy. Left-handed arm, still throwing good, coming out of his hand good. But he's a guy, too, that the crunch could affect a guy like that. If he stays with us and we have that as depth, I mean, that's fantastic for us. Yeah.
You just mentioned outs, and it perked my ears up because, again, it's 2.5 weeks worth of games, and you've got two relievers that have big league experience in Winkler and Holland that have significant big league experience who are here on minor league contracts. I don't know what their out situation is, but you may have to make a decision on them based on about 10 days of work.
Yeah. And listen, it's do we see, what do we see with the stuff? What does it look like? Where's he at physically? Where's his head at? Is this guy able to execute? When he's throwing bullpen, when he's throwing in games, if he's executing at a high rate, listen, if he gives up a little flare or a weak ground ball or a swinging bunt, throws a high fastball that we know will play in season but ends up getting hit out of the ballpark. You see that a lot in Arizona. But we have to be really good at judging the right way. I don't want to get caught up in Arizona stuff because things happen here that then all of a sudden that third deck comes on, the lights turn on, and all of a sudden that same pitch is by the guy in the big leagues, in a real big league game, or the opposite, where they're not getting lucky and guys are lining out off him everywhere. He's got a 1 ERA. He's like, why didn't I make the team?
Do you know? I mean, and I know this is a question probably better for Paul or JD or somebody, but were there outs in minor league contracts this year, or did guys?
Yeah, I think it was all consistent though. I think everybody has pretty much the same day. Don't quote me on it, but I think it's 5 days before camp ends, somewhere around there. You can ask Paul though; he would obviously be the guy to know.
And it's pretty much universal, you think?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Woody, are you definitely 5-man, not 6-man, or is that still?
Yeah, we're going 5 as of right now. That could change depending on health or if we feel that we could do it. But I think as we stand right now, we're definitely going to go 5.
And then I know the roster status always impacts decisions. Whether you can send a guy down or if you don't, then you lose him stuff. But with the smaller sample size, will those sort of things be more of a factor if guys aren't able to separate themselves with the compressed spring training? Do you have to kind of tie goes to the?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not ideal, but it's just a situation we have to deal with. And like I said, we have to try to make really informed decisions on not a lot of information. So how they look, how they throw their bullpens, how are they recovering? Like I said, their execution. That's something that I've talked a lot about with our pitching coaches. Can we get better at identifying the execution rate and not the result? We trust that if he executes, it's baseball. I get it. You got to get the guy out, and however it happens. We're excited about getting him out. But if it's a hanging slider, or if it's misfires everywhere, and he's missing the whole side of the plate, jamming a guy, but he's supposed to go away, but he goes in. Those are things that kind of red flags for me. The score out there might show that he's put up a 0, but if the execution's not there, we can't rely on that. If that's the determining factor, I would bet with the other guy who's actually executing, who actually may have worse numbers in a short sample, in a small sample. But we have to be really good evaluators this year, more so than any other year because of the lack of opportunities.
Can a guy